This video is going to go over Chapter 13, Objective 4, where we talk about the parts of the brainstem. So in your packet that you got from the bookstore, go ahead and get that out and pull out that sheet that has all of the lists of structures of the brain, and then you have a spot there to write the function. So that's kind of where we are, and we're also going to be looking at the sagittal view of the brain as well, so we can label some of these structures as we go, which is important for you to know for lab. So the parts of the brainstem we're going to learn are the medulla oblongata, pons, midbrain, and reticular formation. So again, just knowing kind of where the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata, those three parts of the brainstem come from. Whoops, sorry. Notice they come from different places. So the mesencephalon, which is that second vesicle there, that's actually going to be the midbrain. It's going to stay the mesencephalon. It's not going to differentiate anymore. And then that will, in the adult brain, turn into the midbrain. Now, the rhombencephalon, remember that is the last of the primary vesicles. It's the most posterior of the three primary vesicles. And that's going to divide into, when you get to the 5 primary vesicles, the metencephalon and the myelencephalon. The metencephalon will form the pons in the adult brain. The myelencephalon will form the medulla oblongata in the adult brain. Now, if you look at where the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata are in the adult brain, that's kind of their order from top to bottom, from anterior to posterior. So it kind of helps you remember, if you just remember your secondary vesicles here for sure. Remember, they're in alphabetical order. That is the same order top to bottom that you get for the adult brain structure. So that kind of helps a little bit. So again, the brainstem, what we're looking at here is this area right here. Well, not quite that far down, right? We're not going into the spinal cord. But that area right there, that's the part that we're looking at. So again, I've got some 2-minute neuroscience videos here to kind of help out. This brain in this picture here is flipped from the previous picture. You've got your cerebellum right there, which lets you know this is the back of the brain. This is going to be the front of the brain. And what's indicated in pink is going to be your brainstem. So it kind of sits in front of the cerebellum and below the diencephalon. So the medulla oblongata, this is going to be the most posterior part of the brainstem, the one at the bottom, right before the foramen magnum, right before that opening where then it turns into spinal cord from that neural tube. So this is going to be where your life-sustaining functions are. You're going to be talking about this a lot in AP2, dealing with heart rate, blood vessel diameter, respiration, swallowing, vomiting, hiccuping, coughing, sneezing. So a lot of these life-sustaining functions that are non-voluntary. Okay, so you can see why somebody who might have been in a car accident and had some frontal lobe damage, which is where they're able to, their motor control, voluntary motor control, that may not be working. Parietal lobe may be affected. They may not have incoming sensory information, but what they do have is their heart will still beat and their lungs will still work, because that's in this area here of the brain, which is very much protected in those kinds of accidents and things. I mean, it's hard to get to this area and damage it. So that's why you see a lot of people that might be what they would call like vegetative state, right? So the medulla oblongata, again, on your sheet is going to be labeled F down here. So the landmark that you're looking for, if you remember, is this big, huge bulge right here, and that's that pons. So when you're looking for identification, that bulge, huge bulge, is the pons, and then you go above and below that, and if you go below the pons, that's going to give you that medulla oblongata location. So again, the pons is that big bulge, that easy to spot landmark on the dissections and on the lab test. It's a relay information from the cerebrum to the cerebellum. So you got some relay information going all the way from here through there and then back again, right? So it's also involved in some sleep, and it's got a respiratory center as well. It works with the medulla. So again, that pons is that bulge area there that's easy to spot. Midbrain, a little bit harder to spot. So again, if you know where your pons is, that big bulge, that medulla is, I'm sorry, the midbrain is going to be above the pons, where the medulla will be below the pons. So again, identify your pons. Above it's the midbrain, below it's the medulla. It is the smallest region of the brainstem. It doesn't really have much of a shape. Okay, so it's kind of hard to say, hey, it looks like this, because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't look like anything. It's involved in reflex movements of the head, eyes, and body towards visual, auditory, or tactile stimulus. So in other words, if you're sitting in the living room and somebody drops a large pot in the kitchen, you're naturally going to look that way, just instinctively look towards the loud bang, the crash. That all is midbrain type stuff. And it's also got some auditory pathway in there as well. So again, here's the location of the midbrain. Like we've said, it sits above the pons. And then there's the spinal cord. So this area right here, that's that representation of the foramen magnum. So everything above that line, that's going to be foramen magnum, and above is going to be brain. Below that line is going to be spinal cord. Reticular formation, this is what's represented in blue. This is just part of the brainstem, where you've got a bunch of axons that are going to be there, and they're from nerves that innervate the face. So it's just a place where you're going to find a bunch of axons of neurons. It's also got some sleep-wake cycle issues as well. I put this on here. It is kind of funny if you've never seen The Water Boy, and I will be honest, I haven't seen the whole thing, but if you have seen it, you know where I'm going with this. He talks about the medulla oblongata. So that's where I kind of put that on there. It's just a little funny. But it's kind of neat if you get a chance to watch that. Okay, the next video we'll go over Objective 5. So this is going to end Objective 4.